Hi, everybody. I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's webinar. Thank you for your patience as we got started. I'm Erica Schrader from Symphony AI, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to today's moderator and panel. I think you'll find the conversation useful and stimulating because our panel brings a scary amount of brain power and experience in AI to the table. Our moderator is Ray Wang. And for those of you who don't know Ray, and there are not many people who don't, he's the CEO of Constellation Research and co-host of the Disrupt TV Tech webcast. And in addition, he's an author and frequent commentator on technology. And on the panel, first up is Raj Shukla, who's sitting next to me. He's Symphony AI's CTO, and he's in charge of the technology roadmap and engineering for all the AI technology and the Eureka AI platform that underpins all Symphony AI applications. And next up is Eve Pasalti from Microsoft, who's in charge of scaling and commercializing Microsoft's Azure AI applications. Eve previously led strategic platforms at Google Cloud, helping companies digitally transform. And finally, we have Daniela Russ of MIT. I will note at the moment we're having a technical difficulty getting Daniela on camera, but we're working on that. And Daniela is the director of MIT's Computer Science and AI Lab, known as CSAIL. And she's the professor of electrical engineering and computer science, focused on robotics and AI, among many other responsibilities. So with that very quick introduction of today's session, Ray, I'm going to hand it over to you to kick things off.
Okay, great. Hey, welcome everybody. And as everyone knows, AI has been around for a long time, but the main thing is it's back again. And of course, it's been the #1 topic everywhere. And especially with generative AI taking all the spotlight at the moment, the question here to the panelists as well was really, what's really happening? What's changed? And really that perception. So I'm going to start by asking Eve, what's the reality of AI in enterprises today? What are we seeing? And, we're cutting through the hype here. So what's real? And then we'll go to Raj, and then of course we'll go to Daniela.
Yeah, that's a great question because although you're right, AI has been around for about 20 plus years. Now with the rise of Gen AI, we see a rekindled interest and a lot of excitement from all types of companies across industries. What we currently see, though, is that, yes, there is a lot of expectations, sometimes unrealistic expectations. A lot of companies, I think they presume that there's going to be immediate ROI. And the reality is that a lot of the companies are in the early stages of AI adoption. They're trying some pilots, some POCs. I would say that they are going with some more of the simple use cases like bots, or kind of like, driving some automation when it comes to document intelligence. But overall, I think we're in the early stages of what, we'll see as a gradual adoption across AI.
It's a great point, right? And we're seeing more than just generative AI. People have been working on other parts of AI throughout, the years as well, with machine learning and other types of AI techniques. Raj, what are you seeing? What are you guys looking at? What's hot for Symphony?
Certainly there is a hype. There is always a hype cycle. You can kind of compare this maybe to the internet hype cycle out there, and there'll be a stage at which people will say, oh, we shouldn't be so hyped about it. But that didn't mean that the internet didn't exist after that, right? It in fact blossomed and expanded. And I think what we are seeing is it has opened enterprises' eyes to AI. And then they are realizing to do AI, we need to do data and data plus AI. And then, suddenly the tires start kicking in on foundations that you need to build to have a production AI system running. And that's helping the whole data and AI ecosystem, including us as Symphony AI, where we work not just in the AI layer, but in the kind of data layer and in the AI layer through SaaS AI solutions.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? You need data if you want to play in the AI game. Without data, you don't get to play. And this is one of the tough challenges. Most companies don't realize they need a certain amount of data to get to level precision that they can trust, right? 85% accuracy in customer experience. Yeah, it's kind of cool. We can deal with that. 85% accuracy in supply chain. What happens? Oh my God, we have downtime. Manufacturing operations fall apart. Retailers can't get their stuff out the door. 85% accuracy in finance. Someone's going to jail. And 85% accuracy in healthcare? Like, that's not going to cut it. So let's see if we can get Danielle on. And if Danielle's on, if we can grab her. If you're there, Danielle, jump in. If she can't, we'll jump to the next question.
I'm
Daniela.
here. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can't see you, but you know what? We're so excited to have you here. You know, you've been looking at this for a long time. You and I have crisscross paths from Davos to other events to things at MIT. Where are we? Where's AI going in the enterprise? You guys study this at CSAIL all the time. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, it's a very exciting time in AI. And so since you asked about the enterprise, I'm not going to talk about the research side. What I
Oh,
see is that a lot of companies are very focused on figuring out how to use AI. And there has been a lot of enthusiasm over generative AI, over the use of generative AI. But in time, I think the companies are realizing that the world is not just generative AI. And in fact, while we can get some benefits from generative AI, those benefits are somewhat limited. In order to really make the most out of AI capabilities, we need to think about combining generative AI with other types of AI, with predictive AI, with optimizing AI, with deciding AI, and there is a lot of benefit and a lot of value to be had in the space. So I'm personally very bullish about AI and about the value that it can bring to companies, but we have to think about it more holistically, and companies have to think very carefully about their playbook with AI. The other thing I would say is that just because it can be done with AI, it can be solved with AI, it doesn't mean the problem, it doesn't mean it makes economic sense to apply AI to all the problems.
you know, Danielle, that's a great point, right? We shouldn't be solving a discrete problem with probabilistic AI, right? 1 + 1 = 3 could be a problem in some cases, but sometimes we want to be able to stretch that out, right? And so different models require different types of approaches, which is a great point. Which leads us to the next question: is like, what do enterprises have to do differently, you know, in AI applications that would be different? Let's say ChatGPT or other consumer-facing AI. There's a different kind of set of requirements. Raj, I'm going to turn to you for that because you're building this stuff and customers have to, you know, be able to consume what you build and feel that there's a level of security and enterprise readiness.
Right, absolutely. I think the core of this is that, you know, when you look at ChatGPT or the large language models that are powering those applications, these are models trained on very large data sets like, web and, open source repositories out there. But when you apply it to an enterprise or a company, uh, none of these models have access to all that data, right? So data is siloed. You don't have access to it. You cannot really train one model over all of that, right? Plus, generative AI models don't do very well when trained over tabular data either, right? Which is the point Daniela was making about predictive AI being important. So in that world, you suddenly say, oh, I cannot train one model over all my data. So what do I do, right? So, but it's the power of these models, though, is that you don't just use it as a trained model. You can use it to reason and you can use it to connect dots across your enterprise. But to do that, you have to make your enterprise data and actions and other things available as APIs and tools, right? So that then goes to the point that, yes, there is all this enterprise data existing, but have you built the foundation at the data layer, at the API layer to make all of this available to a generative AI model to access as they require? And that's the key difference that everybody realizes versus the consumer applications where one model has been trained and it answers questions for you.
No, that's really, really poor. And Eve, you've been writing about this and talking about this for a long time. I won't say how long, but but the point being here is like you have unique perspective as to enterprises using this, especially when we talk about areas around ChatGPT.
I agree with Raj 100% that the data layer needs to be in the right state for AI to really work. And on the Gen AI level or the more traditional AI layer, what I think enterprises or companies need to pay attention is although there is a lot of choice when it comes to Gen AI models, we need to pay attention to the ones that are scalable, they are secure, they provide the privacy that we all need. So the data that you ingest or that you integrate with it, it doesn't get shared or it doesn't get used to train any future AI models. And then the whole concept of responsible AI, which is basically kind of like a set of principles and on the Microsoft's case, a set of tools to make sure that you safeguard the experience of how these models are built, how they're being customized, and how they're being used. And this can be principles or tools around how fair these models are, how you can accommodate or how you can flag for bias, how you can drive the transparency or the traceability of how these models are trained, and also drive this accountability across the data science, but also all the user teams too.
It's a great point too. I mean, we are definitely seeing this in terms of how people are looking at AI. It requires a different types of governance in the enterprise than it does in the consumer side. Danielle, you've been talking about this as well for some times about what's really important, some of the dangers of AI and some of the benefits. So, what would you say are the unique requirements enterprises have for AI applications that wouldn't apply to consumer facing Gen AI?
Well, we have already touched on the importance of privacy, but I think that the answer is a little bit more nuanced. We have to think about what is what is the application? Is the application safety critical? Is the data public or is the data private? Is the AI solution used to assist, augment, or automate a task? And so, depending on this constellation of possibilities, we would ask for different aspects of AI. But I would say that the most important one is that many companies view their data as part of their IP, as something that is absolutely critical to their operations. And so having AI enterprise solutions that can run on enterprise computers so that the company doesn't have to give the data to a third party is very important. And this means that we really need to focus on AI solutions that are energy efficient and that are compact enough that they can run on enterprise computers. And I mean, to me, this is the most important part of using AI tools on the enterprise right now. I mean, there's this real conundrum. If you want to use foundational models, usually the foundational models do not run on enterprise computers. Then you have to make a partnership with somebody who can offer you a foundational model. And that means you have to give them your data. And so, do you trust the company with your data? What are the possibilities? So, I mean, so the community is developing solutions to kind of sandbox the data. My vote is for a different class of foundational models and AI solutions that can run on enterprise solutions. And the good news is that they're coming. We're beginning to see those models in practice, in products. And that's very exciting because that means you can put a foundational model on your dishwasher, on your washer and dryer, on edge devices. So you can imagine these kinds of applications that do not rely on server farms.
Danielle, you raise a very interesting point, right? With the internet revolution, it was decentralized, it was open, it was cheaper, and there are a lot of players. And unfortunately, in this model, we actually are closed, we are centralized, we are more expensive, and there are a few players in the space. And so it leads us to the next question in this external, build versus buy debate. Like, what do we do, right? What are considerations for enterprises adopting AI? Because not everyone's going to have billions of dollars to go build this themselves, and not everybody knows exactly how to consume, based on what their data or their data sets or data are. I'll start with Raj. I'll go to Daniela if you've got anything to add, and then go to Eve. So, Raj.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think honestly, everyone should be asking this question for themselves. I mean, from our perspective at Symphony AI, really, we are very upfront with our customers with this question. And the answer lies in usually, are you clear on the use case? If your use case is very, very company specific, that none of your other players in your market have and just only you have, there is really no option but to build most of the time, right? If your use case is very horizontal, for example, you're in Excel and you have to ask some questions, or you're in Word and doing something, then it's very horizontal, and they will be a provider, usually a cloud provider doing it. But if what companies would realize is their use cases are common enough that other competitors or other players in that market have that use case. And that's what we believe are called vertical use cases, right? So if you look at a retailer, for example, who are deciding whether I should pull a product or a brand off the shelf or on the shelf, uh, the use case is, if I add this new product on the shelf in a grocery store, will the demand transfer to that, or will that demand transfer away from it to some other product? And that's what you would call a demand transfer model. And a demand transfer model is common across retailers in some sense, right? The idea of how demand transfers is common. So Symphony AI retail CPG products will let you solve for that use case, which is, and we've built years of expertise doing that. So in that case, you would say, oh, it makes sense to buy something like that. But if it's very particular to a store that you have, to a location that you have, then maybe you're better off thinking of a particular solution. And I think that analogy applies everywhere, to financial services vertical or other verticals we are in as well.
Great points there. Daniela.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting question. If you build it, it's going to be expensive. It's going to cost, and so so you need to think about the economics of that. Is it really is the economic benefits of building it enough to justify building it? On the other hand, I think that the opportunity to build something new is really exciting, because you could imagine creating a platform, not just a solution for your own company. So you could build it, and then you could sell it also as a product to other companies operating in the same space.
Yeah, it's a good point. Eve, what are you seeing in the market?
I would agree with both Daniela and Raj. I mean, definitely the factors to consider is cost, control, speed to go to market. But I would say that the common misconception that we see from the Microsoft side is that a lot of customers jump into the conclusion that they need to develop their own Gen AI model. And this can be a very expensive and very time-consuming operation. So I would say that, start first. In most cases, when you use any Gen AI technology, you will need to customize it to your needs, to your scenario, to your use case. So I would say start with prompt engineering first. This is the simplest, the most common really approach to give the model an instruction so that you can get better results. So if you want to steer the model with a few examples, if you want a simple and quick implementation, I think that's the easiest way to really customize it. Then I would say that RAG, the retrieval augmented generation methodology, is like a cheat sheet for your LLM. So that's another way to really, bring this additional up-to-date information into the Gen AI model, to ground it in a more factual way, to optimize it for specific use cases. And it doesn't require kind of like a whole team and a lot of time to do this. And only then, I would say, then go and fine tune, which basically is changing the weights of the model, and it requires a little bit more skill set and know-how. In very, very, very few cases, you should go and build your own. That's what I would say.
Well, it is expensive to build your own, and we really should think about the use cases. That's where everybody gets caught up. I mean, some things are going to be massively commoditized. Are you going to build your own translation engine? Nah, I think those are pretty well done with all different languages, right? There are some countries that have built their specific models, right? If you want to use Arabic, right? The KSA has built an amazing language model just for Arabic, right? So there's models that are going to be used and consumed, and definitely opportunities there for people to look at all these different approaches. But that leads us to the next question. Like, people have tried. We see tons of POCs getting put into place. Everyone's done them. We had the vanity POC, like I'm putting that on my resume. We have like the serious POC where people are actually going out and building something out and trying to test and create a brand new transformation model. We have people just getting started, trying to get their data strategy up and running. We've seen a 20% conversion rate of POCs to actual projects. What are the barriers to getting past these enterprise grade POCs? Daniela, what are you seeing?
Oh, it's challenging to think about this question because POCs sometimes take a long time and oftentimes require some specific innovative work that goes along with what we have to do. So I think that it's really important to consider identifying a pathway from POC onto the actual scaling up of the small POC project. But part of that can be resolved at the beginning of the process of deciding whether to use AI in your company. And that means defining a clear objective and a clear strategy for achieving the objective. And defining clear objective means understanding what problem you are trying to solve. It also means understanding the stakeholders, the roles, the data, understanding the measure of success, understanding all the aspects of delivery that will go from idea, from problem to a small POC and to an actual enterprise level solution.
No, this is great. And for those of us joining us, we're talking about cutting through the hype. If you're in the middle of this webinar joining us, we have some great conversations here with Raj, Eve, and Daniela, talking about the real use cases and real enterprise AI value. The question we're talking about right now is really how to get past the POC phase. Eve, what are you seeing? What are people doing to get past POCs?
I think a common challenge that we see across the board is that a lot of companies are evaluating or are using Gen AI as a POC because their leadership team has integrated AI into their strategy plan, or the board of their directors is instructing them to do so to stay competitive. And I feel like, in most cases, the simplest way to go about it is identify where the biggest pain is. Where are you spending a lot of time where you don't have the right automation in place? Where are you, not finding the right ROI from the initiatives that you're driving? This is the areas that I would prioritize as a POC. And then, as Daniela was saying, kind of like, really bookend it with the right metrics and KPIs and time kind of like increment, so that you can evaluate if it's actually driving the ROI that you need. So starting with a business business problems and then applying the right AI tool for the job, that's probably the best approach to overcome this. Also, another thing that we're seeing across companies that have successfully integrated Gen AI into their operations is that they all have a center of excellence. So they can spin up these POCs in multiple departments or groups, share some of the best practices, and move fast.
Yeah, great points there. Raj, anything to add there? And then we're going to jump into the next
I would
question.
say if you're having to, I very much agree with what Eve said. If you're having to figure out a use case for a solution, that's a bad start on its own, right? So, at Symphony AI, we often say, we are working on these use cases and problems that have existed for years, sometimes decades, right? So the problem exists, its value exists. We can put a number on the value, and the POC we define would not be on this, right in the middle of a model training life cycle, just train it on a little bit of data and see that result. The POC would be defined as what is the outcome, like so. In our industrial vertical, for example, we'd say, predictive maintenance, right? You have to predict some, a maintenance issue or machine failing before it
How long
actually.
can I sweat it? How long can I sweat an asset, for example?
Right, and there is a KPI associated to it. Were you able to predict it before? How early? How much of a loss did I have because of that plant going down, etc. And the POC would be designed for us. We have a product called Iris Foundry, which does a great job at it. The POC there are defined as, right from where the data ingestion starts, data coming in to a model, being trained or a pre-trained model shown running on it, to a result being shown reaching an email or someone's phone or pager, or Slack, whatever, showing that it happens, right? And within a week, we would try to run it as a boot camp, showing this end to end. So we've done a few things there. We haven't tried to create a problem. The problem exists. We've tried to show the entire life cycle of data ingestion to processing to model training to the model running and within a week's time. So I think with that kind of an approach, the customers would see the value of it much faster versus the other way of figuring out a problem for a solution and then figuring out the use cases around it.
Yeah, no, being able to bring data insights, data modeling, the contextualization, and the orchestration all once, and then with some governance is pretty exciting, right? I mean, that's what you guys do in Foundry, which gives you that kind of piece. Since I've got you here, I'm going to ask you, what are examples? What are people doing? What are use cases? What are results? What are people getting?
I think there's a lot of successful examples. I'll take a few particular examples. I'll go to a different vertical we are in the financial services verticals. So, we have banks where we deploy, AML or money laundering detection solutions. And so this is a predictive AI model that is trying to figure out money laundering or fraud kind of activities. We have I'll actually name the customer. We have a bank called APSA in South Africa, a pretty large bank there. And we've shown that replacing their rules-based system, which they've had, which consists of 10, sometimes hundreds of rules that a bank has, with a predictive model there, can reduce false positives by more than 70%, right? So rules tend to be created to catch certain activities, but they end up catching a lot of false positives. So that's a reduction we got. For the same bank, we identified 10% new alerts that were not triggered, meaning actual fraud happening that their rules did not catch. And just that's on the detection side. On another customer on the financial services side, where we deployed our generative AI solutions, we reduced the time of investigation. So in this case, there are people called investigators who take an alert and have to analyze it and research it and eventually file a report with a regulator. We reduce the end-to-end time there by about 40-50% in reality, right? Tested and proved. And so that was the power of generative AI, whereas the previous example I was telling you, a power of predictive AI. And really, if you think about it holistically, this was a life cycle of case, right? A fraud case happening, starting, being triggered, being caught, being investigated and reported. So, covering that life cycle with a good predictive AI solution, generative AI solution, giving real value to that bank.
Yeah, you also reduce false positive alerts by 77%, which is really, really cool. So people aren't chasing after the wrong things for ABSA, if I remember. So that's wonderful. Eve, tell us a little bit what you're seeing as well.
We see a lot of applications across summarization, extracting sentiment of conversation, summarizing large documents or meeting notes. I can bring like two of the examples that we see. One is with CarMax, and they're using Gen AI and Azure OpenAI so that they can process a lot of the customer reviews that they have, and they can extract the sentiment, they can summarize this content, and also they can generate net new content to customize the campaigns that they're doing. So basically helping their marketing department be much more efficient. Another use case that we see is around business process automation. Every company has a lot of different documents, whether it's contracts, invoices, lengthy things that nobody wants to go through. So how do we automate that? So an example is the insurance company out of Holland or the Netherlands, Nationale Nederlanden, who are using kind of like, this Azure OpenAI service to extract information from large documents of structured and unstructured documents that they have, so that they can automate their claim processing. And similarly, because I'm from Greece, we see the National Bank of Greece, who is using the same service to process around 700,000 documents per month. And they're seeing an accuracy rate of more than 87%, which is great, and it made their teams much, much more efficient.
Thank you. So while Danielle is coming back in, right, one of the big use cases we saw was in procurement. And procurement, if you throw all your contracts in, right, and the LLM comes in and starts looking at it, you can say, hey, why are we this consistency in our contract? For example, why are some terms 90 days? Why are some terms 120 days? Why are we paying the same supplier in a different way? Are there ways we can streamline the processes? And it's actually one of the places we tell customers to start. Anything where you have nice structured data, lots of information that you can't humanly come from, it's a great place to jump into. So procurement's a great one for that. So that's a good one. Let's talk about some other things. What are people doing differently to get AI working? And this could be on the cultural side. This could be a different process side. Let's try Danielle again. Can we hear you? Let's see. Let's test you. So
Can you hear me now?
You sound amazing.
My gosh. I'm so excited to be here with appropriate voice. So I just wanted to add a few use cases to the ones that have already been mentioned. Summarization is something that we see in a lot of different industries. And whether it's United using summarization to help their operational staff understand the schedule better, or it's documents that explain how mechanisms work. There's such a wide gamut of summarization besides just summarizing meeting notes. I actually don't enjoy much reading user manuals. And so we see companies that are kind of synthesizing from user manuals just the right information that you need in order to debug your task. But in addition to this, there are many other interesting possibilities. And so I really like the ERP applications. So coordinating enterprise services could really bring so much efficiency in an organization where, like, oftentimes the ERP units are kind of siloed, and then just doing the cross-unit coordination brings a lot of value. Other interesting applications have to do with supporting designers. with new ideas. And so there are, and so this can be applicable to marketing, but it can also be useful for creating brand logos. It can be useful for designing new products, and that, you see, manufacturing is a particularly exciting area of applicability because AI has not really penetrated in manufacturing. And so bringing AI to help accelerate the design of new products is very, very exciting.
That's a great question. We're seeing that in computer vision and quality. We're seeing that in scheduling, logistics and manufacturing, optimization, classic problems, as Raj was saying. You want to make sure you solve those evergreen problems that are out there. Let's jump in, talk about common threads. What are people doing to actually improve AI adoption? And this could be cultural. This could be something that you're doing in a process technique. Could it be a technology, an aid, something that you're seeing in that regard? So, Eve, what do you see? Is it education, training? Is there something different? Oh, Eve, you're on mute. We'll get you back off mute real quick.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're good now.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Great. So I think it's all of the above. I would say that it starts at the top. So you need to have the right sponsorship from the leadership side. So there needs to be a vision, a strategy around how we're integrating AI into all the initiatives and the business plans. Then I would say a lot of the work is at the data level. So if the data that you have is not of high quality, is not really accessible, is it not well managed, or is it not well labeled, then the AI, it doesn't matter how great the AI is on top, it will not work. And then I think I hinted it with a center of excellence. Cross-group collaboration is really key. If you did a bot for your HR team, you can emulate some of the best practices and avoid some of the pitfalls when you replicate it for another department or another group. And then the other thing that I would say is last is you need to have that continuous learning culture because AI is evolving rapidly. We see this with all the new Gen AI models coming along and, like smaller models, third-party models. It's like, there is a plethora of capabilities. So keeping up with what's coming up and what would be the right AI model for the scenario and the use case that you have is absolutely key.
You're right. We're facing model mayhem. I mean, these models keep getting faster. They're moving so quickly. Once you train a model, it's not like you can go back and swap a model because you go back and retrain it. So there's a lot of careful consideration as you look at those models. Daniela, things that you're seeing, Raj, things that you're seeing in development. I'll start with you, Daniela.
Yes, a lot of excitement. So another important part is companies are beginning to hire what I call bilinguals. In order to
Yes.
have an effective AI solution, you can't just be an AI expert who's learned the theory. You really need to understand your business. You need to understand the market. You need to understand the products. And so it's very important to have people who understand both sides. Because if you're only trained on the business domain, then you don't know AI. And so it's difficult to understand what the possibilities are. If all you know is AI, you don't really know how AI can be useful. And so it's very important to have people who understand both sides. The other thing is, and so from where I sit with my day job, I see a lot of companies that are building programs to broadly educate the workforce. And this is very important because depending on what your role is in the organization, there are certain aspects about AI that are useful for you to know. Not everyone needs to become an AI expert, but whether you lead, whether you develop AI or you deploy AI or you use AI, there are certain things that are important for you to know. And so at MIT, we have created a number of educational modules that target AI knowledge depending on various types of roles like lead, use, deploy, develop that people could have in companies. And the other thing I would say is that it's very important to have a continuous loop of communication and education because the tools are changing all the time. The implementation in the organization adapts to that. And so it's important that all stakeholders be informed. It's important to collect feedback and use this feedback to define the strategy and to define the improvements that can be made on your product, on your AI product.
Danielle, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about self-driving AI. We got to feed the self-driving AI as well. Raj, go ahead. What do you see? And then
I would say sort of a connected story is what I see in banks, for example, a chief data officer and the chief compliance officer and their teams looking at the problems connected. In retail, for example, not looking at supply chain as a different problem than merchandising in store, and not looking at personalized marketing as a different problem. We have a flagship retail platform called SymphonyAI in SymphonyAI, and we start with this notion of connected retail, right? Where at the end of the day, it's the same product that gets produced, delivered through your supply chain to a store, and there is a customer segment that is buying that. There is a natural demand for it, so it is all connected. The true power of these ML models or AI models, they actually become better if you give it a connected data, right? And so sometimes these POCs and all fail because you didn't connect the story. And to connect the story, you have to kind of go top down, and the data teams and the operational teams have to come together. And I think that's how we have developed our solutions, and that seems to be resonating in the industry.
That's a really important piece. We have to take a holistic view. We have to think about the data as it crosses through value chains, and we have to think about the implications it has on individuals across the board. We've got a few more minutes. We got 10 more minutes, but if you've got questions, pop into the Q&A. We're answering them as we go along the way. Here's a question. How do you see clients progressing? And really, it's a quick answer. Do you see it as level 2 versus level 3, level 5? Like, where do you see clients progressing through these, the 5 levels of AI maturity? We start with augmentation. Get people going, augment the human, have the human augment the machine, have the machine augment the human. We then get to acceleration as we're able to do things much more quickly. We get to stage of some level of automation. And then at some point we have agents that kind of pop up there. And then at some point we have advisors that are actually serving kind of in a place of intelligent advice along the way. Where do you see us right now? Where are clients? Raj, let's take your clients. Where do you think they are at the moment, and where do they want to be?
I think everyone wants to be complete this journey from 1 to 5. I'd say depending on the industries, the answer would be different. I'd say banks are probably at 3, scared to go to 4 and all that. Retailers are somewhere between 2 and 3, experimenting with 4. Industrial manufacturing is probably a little like, figuring out stage 2 and stage 1, because physically the data is coming out of plants and machines and all of that. But from my perspective, just to get to the next stage, you have to get the previous stages right and complete that feedback loop that feeds into the next stage. So us as building products, we keep that in mind, because we are building for the future, but making sure that stage 1 and stage 2 are complete as we go into 3 and 4.
Great point. Yeah, and time series data is really gnarly to wrangle when you're trying to get that stuff right, especially at the edges. Daniela, where are you seeing your clients and in general the market?
Let me comment about what you just said, that time series is gnarly and the edge cases are challenging. And I'm excited about that because our company, Liquid AI, is targeted exactly that. Liquid AI liquid networks are a new technology for machine learning that is not transformer based, that it's physics based, and it's very well suited for time series applications, and it's been very well tested and demonstrated on time series applications, including on edge devices. Now, having said that, if I think about all the different people, all the different companies we interact with, I would say that the current situation is more stage 1 and stage 2. People are looking at speeding their activities, so that's your acceleration stage. And there is a lot of augmentation that is happening. And part of this has to do with the fact that AI is really not ready to take over control, especially not in critical applications, and definitely not in safety critical applications. And so everyone talks about agents and the day when the agents will come in and do a lot of stuff for us. But we are not there yet. The technology is, we are not ready to yield control to machines in this way. And so, getting AI to sift through a lot of data to find the patterns and the summaries that can help us make decisions is sort of where we want to be. And with agents, maybe you can get agents to fill in a form. And so I don't know if you call that an agent, but let's say we can call that an agent. So that's the kind of activity that the systems can do for us. But even if the agent does the form, I still want to review what the agent has filled out to make sure that there are no mistakes. So I think we have a way to go to get to 4 and 5. And automation is also challenging. Automation also requires some human supervision. But in all of these stages, if you have a human supervisor, you can get some benefit from AI.
That's a great point. Eve, what do you have to add to this?
Yeah, I agree 100%. What we see from our end is that customers kind of range between the first, the second, and a few on the third stage. But the common thread across is that we need significant human oversight. These AI models, as innovative, as effective as they are, they're not really autonomous. They need human oversight. They need fine-tuning. They need interventions. I agree that we need to employ them and start with low-risk use cases. Just to train and kind of like continue to customize things. And also the thing is we need to make sure that we are comfortable with the fact that they're not going to yield results immediately. It takes time to prepare the data sets, to do the model training, and iterations that need to happen to provide value. So I would urge us to kind of take time moving from one step to the other, just to make sure that we do the right thing.
For external facing systems.
I'd say just one more thing there. This is my personal belief as well. Companies who are okay running agents in the background, not doing much, but just learning over time, the faster you adopt and just let the system run, for a few years and all that, the more prepared you are for the future. So instead of being scared and slowly adopting, it's usually the opposite that you should do. Yes, you should not let it take actions and all that, but you should take it to a stage where some of these agents are running in the background and just see how they're performing, right? Because I think we'll be surprised how good they are in many use cases. And by the time you decide, you've lost that edge of 2 years of data being trained on, and you're already 2 years behind your competitors. So I think that's my perspective here.
Raj, that's a great point. And Robert asked this question, why not just wait? And that's exactly why you can wait, but you want to do the work before it gets revealed, right? You want to actually get the training to see how accurate it is. You want to drive down the false positive and false negatives. We tell people there are 3 questions, right? 1, do you have enough data to get to level of precision your stakeholders will trust? 2nd, when and where will you insert a human in the process? And that's the check place. And then, of course, who do you sue when something goes wrong? right? So you actually now understand the chain and the magnitude of that decision. And so we tell people to start with those three things. We're going to jump to Q&A. We got 3 minutes. There's another Q&A here. I think there's one here specifically for Raj. Put your Q&A here. I think Danny's asking the question, do you have specific solutions for intermediaries that deals with dozens of retailers across multiple channels of distribution and dozens of CPQ manufacturers that have their own internal data that they don't necessarily have access to, especially when they like direct access to data to enable machine learning? What do you do with the situations like that, Raj?
Specific solution for intermediaries that deals with dozens of retailers across multiple.
Is there a way to create a data collective? And I think that's kind of what they're asking, right? So for example, the first 85% of data, someone's gonna have a large language model. The next piece, a smaller language model for the next 10%, and the last piece, the 5%. To get to that level of precision, people are gonna have to share data to do a give-get model. Is there anything like that you have in place for a data collective?
I think the reality is no one in enterprise would want to share their data with anyone else, right? So I think what we try to do is, so first you have to ensure that no leakage happens in terms of data and all that, right? But then there is an element of, we have solutions which can learn over multiple clients' data without compromising individual privacy in a federated learning kind of an approach. So to and we have solutions like this in financial services space, and we have solutions like this in the retailer space as well. The important thing to realize is that there is significant learning to be had if magically we were to bring this data together, but you cannot. And so you have to go over that through a technical approach, and that will take time, right? We have some very early versions of that. But there is one success story I would say we have, which is very clearly true in our retail products and financial services product, is that they are pre-trained models we provide. So, just like ChatGPT is a pre-trained model, you'd go and run it. Many of our models are pre-trained. So you can start seeing value on day one while you deploy it, and then they start learning over more time.
And you can fine tune your model off of that pre-trained model, which actually helps you get to acceleration. We think the future might be data collectives where industry value chains like retail, manufacturing, distribution start sharing data to get to signal intelligence, understanding demand, understanding pricing, and what happened to the model. But it's going to be very, very hard to get to that point. We have another question, last question from Yolanda. She's asking, given the rapid pace of AI development, what can enterprises do to future-proof their AI investments, ensure they remain competitive over the next decade? Daniela? Eve? Any future-proofing ideas?
So future-proofing, the research community is very much focused on making AI more trustworthy and better to deploy. So, for instance, nobody understands how foundational models make decisions. The research community is trying to understand that, and it's working on methodologies to make sure that the AI solution generated by an AI system falls within a safe region, and that the safety of this and the way the solution is derived can be explained. So these are new capabilities that are sort of coming around the corner, then there is a lot of debate in the research community about what is happening on the training side. Are we going to saturate with large language models? Are the models going to collapse because we run out of data and we begin to generate simulated data that messes up the performance of the system? And frankly, is there a limit to the statistical methods that are currently deployed? So there is a lot of energy that is devoted to answering these questions, and also to coming up with alternative methods that allow us to maybe define different types of AI models, maybe physics-based, where there isn't a limit to what is possible, or where the limit to what they do can be more carefully defined. There is also a lot of work with respect to how much data do you actually need to train the model, and do you need to see original data or not? A technique called data distillation allows a user to analyze all the data that is available at the company and create synthetic data that captures all the features, all the important features of the existing data. And so through data distillation, you can then go from real data to this fake data from which you cannot recover the real data. And then this addresses in part the privacy concern, because the privacy concern is not just about giving data to a partner. It's also about the model being hacked and the original data used to train the model being backed out of the model. And so privacy is also being addressed in this way. Size and environmental impact and electricity costs, these are also very much on the mind of the research community, because right now AI has a huge environmental footprint. And so we really need to think about lowering the cost, which is good for the company, but also it's good for the environment. And so these are some of the ideas that are being developed that are that aim to ensure that AI can be positive and is much less likely to be hacked or to lead to harmful things. But I will say one more thing. Let me just say one more thing. You know, AI brings so much capability, has the potential to do so much for us. We can be more speedy, we can get new knowledge, we get insights, we get creativity, we get foresight, we get mastery, we get empathy. We get so much from AI. And so I think of it as a way of giving us superpowers. But an important part to keep in mind is that the same superpowers can also empower the supervillains. So really thinking about how to not empower the supervillains with these extraordinary tools is very important.
No, with great technologies come great responsibility. And so Peter Parker principles apply if you watch Spider-Man. But anyways, hey, thank you so much. Amazing panel here. Thank you for your questions in the audience. Let's thank Raj Shukla, Eve Salti, and of course, Daniela Roos for being here. Amazing panelists with different perspectives. And of course, this is the No Nonsense panel on AI. Hopefully we answered all your questions. And if you have anything else, please feel free to reach out to us out here. You can, more information, visit SymphonyAI.com if you want to get started. And of course, and thank you very much. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we off? Can we talk
I
to
think
each
we're
other
still
a
on.
bit?
I think we're still live. Let's wait
We're
till
still
stay
live.
on, and let's see if we can stay in the back room. So cool. For the Symphony folks, can you take us back and bring us back into the green room, and then we can talk from there. Let's see. We're still live, but let's see if we wait to the green room. I have no controls, so I won't be able to change anything. But yeah, let's see. Well, hey, Allison.